Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and it's nice to be back here with you today. I have returned from Brussels, which means it's time to talk about Celtic once more, and what better way to do so than to talk about some transfer rumours. That's right, it's silly season. We have reached that point in the international break where headlines have to be made, and Celtic are allegedly already preparing their first bids of the summer transfer window. That's right, on the 20th of March. So let's talk about that. You know what to do already. Please make sure to hit like and subscribe. Thank you for sticking by me as I took a wee few days off away to Belgium. I'm back now. Content should be back as usual, which starts with today. Last night we had a live stream where we kind of touched on this story, but I have done the deep diving. Let's explain the story in full. Celtic already, allegedly, preparing a bid for the summer transfer window. Because yesterday evening you may have caught these headlines in the Daily Record that Celtic's summer master plan has been jolted into life as stories of Kedo Sadbe have broke cover. It could be a big summer for Celtic as they look to build on a season where they are chasing a treble. So this story went on to detail that defeat against Rangers had fans questioning the depth of the Celtic squad, and the summer wheeling and dealing looks to be ramping up early behind the scenes because reports in France have touted towering Gump midfielder Kedo Sadbe with a move to Glasgow's East End, with some stating a 1.7 million bid has already been put on the table. But the 6'6" player has reiterated he is happy with his side in Ligue 2 and has spoke for the first time since the rumour mill cranked up. So despite the Daily Record saying that these reports have come from France, it seems the story originally came from Africa. Of course, Kedo Sadbe of Mali descent. It was reported in Africa Foot that after several seasons in League 2, Kedo Sadbe is ready to take a new step in his career. He has attracted interest from several clubs across Europe, including Celtic Glasgow, who have reportedly made a €2 million bid to secure the services of the Guingamp player, according to Africa Foot. A former player at Toulouse, where he also trained, Kedo Sadbe is one of Celtic's priorities for the summer, with a view to replace Crystal Palace Ghanaian international midfielder Jeffrey Schlupp, who is out of loan this summer. So this is where things get a little bit hazy. You have to take things with a pinch of salt, and I start to raise the question, is this just typical interest drumming up at this point in the season? Is this an agent or a media outlet trying to get the eyes of certain clubs on a specific player? Is there much to believe in here? Because just a couple of the things don't add up. I like to give the benefit of the doubt to some of these writers overseas, whether it be in Europe, whether it be in Africa, South America, wherever it is. If there's maybe a language barrier or they're not familiar with the Celtic side. But if we just revisit that last line again, he's being eyed up to replace Crystal Palace loanee Jeffrey Schlupp, whose loan finishes at the end of the summer. Now, why would Celtic be looking to replace a left back with a 6'6" defensive midfielder? That doesn't necessarily make sense. But also, at the same time, let's not pretend that it still isn't something that there's truth in. Just because they might have got that one fact wrong doesn't necessarily mean that the whole story is nonsense. We know that Celtic need a defensive midfielder. We know that Celtic need height and physicality in the team. And this is a player who would tick all of those boxes. Just because a journalist has maybe wrote that he's coming in to replace Jeffrey Schlupp doesn't mean that it's complete nonsense. In the second half of the article, they outline the other clubs who are reportedly interested in the Sadbe. It includes PSV Eindhoven, Grasshoppers, Zurich, Ipswich and Toulouse as well. So some big sides in there. Of course, PSV, one of the biggest sides in Holland, probably the best at the moment in time. Ipswich, who are in the Premier League right now, and Toulouse, a club he formerly played for. Seems like there will be a few clubs circling around his name after an impressive season in Ligue 2. Playing 31 times this season across the Ligue 2 fixtures and the Coupe de France, scoring 2, assisting 5. You're hardly going to have a huge goal contribution from the area of the park that he is playing in, but nonetheless been one of the standouts in a season for Guingamp when they're pushing for promotion. I think they sit 5th right now, going to try and get as far as they can before the end of the season, trying to get back to League 1, or Ligue 1 I should say. He's a standout. He's somebody who is obviously going to be looked at this summer and fits the profile of the type of player Celtic need. Now, people are just going to ask straight away, do I think it's one we're going to go for? I'm sceptical. Let me just say it how it is. I'm sceptical. I don't know how much truth is in this. Do I think that Celtic have already prepared the bid, or as some people have already said, bidded for the player? I wouldn't believe that. I don't think that Celtic are bidding for anybody right now, whether it's a guy who I only heard about for the first time yesterday in Kedo Sadbe, or whether it's Matthias Wiesgarden, who I've been hearing about for fucking 2 years now. I don't think Celtic are bidding for anybody on the 20th of March. So I think that this story might be full of some porkies, a wee bit of nonsense, but I don't think it discounts some elements of truth, which will stand true heading into the summer window, because I think we'll be looking for somebody similar. Callum McGregor, our captain, fantastic in that role. He's great there. But we've seen firsthand on Sunday what happens when he's not there. And the depth of that type of player just isn't in the Celtic team right now. Now, Kedo Sadbe, who's 26 years of age, a little bit older, getting into those prime years, could be a decent backup option. Because at the end of the day, the CDM position, as it gets called nowadays by the young ones, the CDM position, the number 6, is a position that is going to be hard to attract players in. Why? Because Callum McGregor's there, and he's got to be there for the next couple of years. Whether you agree with that or not, but I think we all, 90% of us, 95% of us Celtic fans agree that Callum McGregor should be staying in that role. It's not easy to attract someone in that position when they're going to be told, listen, our captain plays there, and you'll be playing few and far between. So, to maybe go for somebody who is at that kind of League 2 level, a good player who could easily take the step up, that's a little bit older. The options are similar to Celtic in the sense you're talking about PSV, Champions of Holland, whatever. That's probably the kind of profile that Celtic need to go for in that position, similar to what we had with Tomoki Iwata, to be honest. Somebody who might need to, just accept that they're going to be a second choice. And that's not me trying to put down the talents of this potential Celtic player. Who knows if he's signing or not, if he ever will, if there'll ever be a bid. But I think you get what I'm trying to say. It's not going to be exactly a case of signing a CDM, a defensive midfielder, if they are coming in to take over McGregor's role, because that's probably just not going to happen. So, yeah, can I just say I hate the fact that I've used the term CDM twice in this video, because that is a pet hate of mine. It's late, I want my bed, I'm shattered for travelling, please let me off. He also spoke to the French media recently, saying that he has matured in his season with Guingamp. He thinks that the team's style of play has had a big influence on him, playing with more of the ball. We're more in position with very clear positional play. I know exactly what I have to do when we have the ball. That's what helps a lot. It allows me to bring out my qualities with the ball at my feet. I can express myself with the ball. The coach also asked me to be the calmer player at the start of the season, to spread that to the other players. I took that into account, and I am happy. Who does that sound like, eh? Who does that sound like? Playing for a team who has a lot of the ball, playing in a position who has so much influence, who has to calm down the game, has to be very clear with his positional play. Sounds like another defensive midfielder we know. Cough, cough, Callum McGregor. So, similarities. I don't know if it'll be this guy, but I certainly think it's came from somewhere. He might be on a list at Celtic Park. So we'll just need to watch, see where this one goes. I do believe Celtic will be trying to sign a player in that position this summer. Whether or not it's Sadbe here or not, we'll just need to wait and see. Couple of other wee things before we wrap it up today. Alistair Johnson was speaking to the media following his call-up in the Canadian national team, saying he's in no rush to leave Celtic, despite the stories that have circulated over the last few months that clubs as big as Inter Milan are interested in his services. He said this, he's a bit football mad, he loves the city, it's the biggest fishbowl in all of Europe, everyone knows who you are, you don't know if they love you or hate you, but they know who you are. I'm not famous outside of maybe a 30-mile radius of Glasgow city centre, but what a radius. I don't take for granted what an unbelievable opportunity that this club has given me. He doesn't want to leave anytime soon, and his exact words were, he feels very settled at the minute, and his dog is Scottish, so he's in no rush to take a Scottish dog out of Scotland. So yeah, I love hearing that. Hopefully that remains true in the summer if any bids come in, but I won't hold my breath. We know what it's like, can't get attached to players too easily at Celtic, but I like hearing that. And talking about players that we got attached to, one that I got attached to a few years ago was none other than Christopher Ajer, who I absolutely loved one of my favourite players in recent years at Celtic, one of my favourite centre-halves especially, and probably in my conscious lifetime, you know. He's right up there with Cameron Carter-Vickers, Virgil van Dijk for me. I loved him a lot, but there's rumours floating around that Brendan Rodgers has been in his ear. I think one of the Celtic blogging websites has reported that. Now, I'm not here to comment on the validity of that story and how much truth is in that or not. That's not my place. I'm not going to question the source of where that has come from. But the story seems to be going along the lines of Brendan Rodgers has been in the ear of Christopher Ajer. He's maybe going to leave Brentford this summer, and Rodgers is trying to bring him back up the road. Once again, never say never. I never thought in a million years that I'd see Jota come back to Celtic. Here he is. You know, he's back. Kieran Tierney, I didn't think we'd see for another 5 years or so, and he's coming back. So, you know, never say never. Rodgers has clearly got a plan to build a great team with great players going into next season. However, I would say just be a little bit cautious, a little bit reserved when you hear stories like that, because Christopher Ajer's a top player who's really, you know, still got another level to go, I think. I know that at Brentford it's been a bit up and down for him at times, but generally I think he's still got work to do down south. I would be stunned if Celtic were going to go and try and get Ajer back in. Financially, just a lot of questions. Is he willing to come back up the road at this point of his career? I don't know, but the rumours are doing the round. I personally wouldn't buy into it too much, but they'll ramp up, because when people get a hold of it and it starts getting into the mainstream places, we're probably going to see his name thrown up a few times. Right, I've talked too much. It's late. I've got to edit. Cheerio.